Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to discuss the Nintendo Switch's surprisingly strong Q1 of 2021. So before I go any deeper into this topic, I do want to remind everybody that I am currently making a push to cross 15,000 subscribers. I am extremely close, so as you watch this video, of course, if you seem to like what I'm doing and what you hear, then hopefully you consider hitting that subscribe button so I can cross that milestone very soon. So here we are in the first week of 2021. It is a very exciting time, and like I said in the intro here, what I want to do is explore the beginning of Nintendo's 2021. And of course, Nintendo's 2021 to me becomes the most interesting, partly because, of course, they're my favorite company and I love the Switch so much, it's my favorite console, but also because they had a more unique year than most other companies last year due to the pandemic and their slow rolling out of new information and new games. And so seeing how they might rebound in 2021 has become very exciting for a lot of us who are big fans of Nintendo. I discussed it in my own video when I kind of went over some ideas and predictions for what they might do this year. And today I want to focus on what we already know is supposed to be releasing in just the first quarter of this year, which of course encompasses January, February, and March. I gotta tell you, what's exciting for me is seeing that their first quarter of this year actually is pretty strong. I mean, that was really the main motivation for myself in making this video. The fact that, wow, there's actually like 3 or 4 pretty awesome high-profile games releasing on the Switch that are actually all exclusive, and they all look really good. A couple of things we should note here, though, is that I'm only focusing on really kind of the higher profile games. Obviously, there's tons of indie games, or maybe some ports of prior last generation games, stuff that's come out on PlayStation and Xbox that's finally making it over to the Switch. Things like that that maybe aren't super huge deals, the kinds of software that make a big splash or a big impact or maybe even move Nintendo Switches. I'm focusing on the 3 or 4 really main, I don't want to call them AAA because they're not all AAA, but like I said, higher profile titles. Also, an interesting thing to note is that 3 out of these 4 are third-party games, third-party exclusive titles to the Switch, which of course is always a very big deal. And then there is one first-party title, but it is a last-generation port that comes with its own sort of weirdness, and we're going to get into that. And of course, you already know what that title is. It is Super Mario 3D World, which of course was a 2013 Wii U game, and a very, very, very good Wii U game, a really, really good Mario game. That is really just the next in a long line of Wii U ports making it over to the Nintendo Switch. It is also the first real title to talk about for their Q1 this year. Really, January has nothing significant, again, in terms of the higher profile games. There are some things releasing here and there throughout the month, and maybe we're going to get a surprise January Nintendo Direct, although I'm not 100% sure about that. But as far as games, the first main one really is Mario 3D World, which releases on February 12th. And of course, the other big thing to note about Mario 3D World, I've discussed this in the past, is the fact that it's coming with this currently mysterious Bowser's Fury edition. Now, I played and completed Mario 3D World when it was brand new on the Nintendo Wii U in 2013. In fact, I still own my copy of the game. Like I said, I think it's a really, really good game and a really good Mario game. It is pretty low on my list of 3D Mario titles, but I don't want you guys to mistake that for me not enjoying the game. It's a great game. I really think most people should have played it on the Wii U when it released because it was such a good game on the Wii U. It even did a couple of neat things with the gamepad. But at the end of the day, if you've never played this game and you have a Switch, which of course we all do, then I highly, highly, highly recommend that you pick it up and play it. Obviously, I wish we all did that on the Wii U back in the day when I did, but since we know a lot of people didn't, this is a great chance to experience this game, and it's good enough that it warrants people playing it, even if it's a last-gen Wii U port that a lot of us are getting sick of. It's a really good game. And so, like I said, I've already played and completed it, so I have no real interest myself in buying and playing Mario 3D World again on the Switch. However, the Bowser's Fury thing is very interesting, and I do want to learn what that is. I discussed this recently on my Switch 2021 video. I'm at the point personally where once we see what Bowser's Fury is, if it's significant enough and enough additional content, cool enough, worthwhile, then I probably will end up picking up this game and double dipping. If it's not that interesting, not that substantial of content, or maybe some weird multiplayer thing that's just like a bonus mini game or whatever, then I will definitely be skipping Mario 3D World, only because, like I said, I've already played it. It is a good game, so I would otherwise want to be picking it up. And you know, one would have to think, at this point, this game releases just over a month from now, about 4.5 weeks from today. One would have to think that at some point pretty soon, Nintendo's going to detail this Bowser's Fury thing. They could do that in a couple of ways. Obviously, if we do get a surprise full Nintendo Direct, they would probably feature it there. Maybe they do a Mario-specific Direct, or even like a small little 15-minute Direct focused on just Mario 3D World where they detail it, or they could even do something that they were doing last year where they just released like a 3.5-minute video on YouTube and Twitter that specifically tells everyone what Bowser's Fury is. I mean, it's entirely possible any one of those three options happen. I kind of think the most likely thing would be the Twitter drop, or maybe a Mario 3D World focused little Direct presentation. Again, I do think we're getting a Nintendo Direct in Q1, but I don't really know that I believe we're getting one in January, and so that really becomes lowest on my list. Now, just a couple of weeks after Mario 3D World is another title that I don't want any one of us to forget is coming, and it's Ghosts 'n Goblins Resurrection, which was announced and revealed surprisingly at the Game Awards presentation last month, just about a month ago from now, which we know that really wasn't the best version of the Game Awards we'd seen. However, this was one of the few very cool and surprising additions to me, was the announcement of Ghosts 'n Goblins Resurrection. And it's a game that I initially thought was like a remaster or remake, but I've actually since learned that it appears to be a brand new game. And I gotta tell you, that makes me really excited. I was excited when I just thought it was a remaster because it looked so new that it was maybe going to feel new, if not also familiar. But the fact that it's being described by Capcom as like an all-new adventure, that makes me incredibly excited. And, you know, I'm old enough to have grown up in the 8 and 16-bit days, so I played the original Ghosts 'n Goblins, the original Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Those games even re-released later, like on the Game Boy Advance, and they are amazing games. Now, hopefully you know this, but just in case you don't know this, these games are notoriously crazy hard, punishing platforming difficulty. It's part of what I like about them, but they can also sometimes be even too hard. And I'm willing to bet that this game is going to be the hardest of them all. I don't know if they're going to include like an easy mode or a simple mode, or if they want to do any of that, or if they want to stick true to the roots and make it really, really difficult. I think that they might run into an issue and a barrier of entry for people who jump into this game without really knowing what they're getting into. So it will be interesting to me to see how they actually, you know, take advantage of that and what they actually do. But at the end of the day, it's a great looking game. I love the visual style. I still have a soft spot for classic 2D side-scrolling and platforming and action-adventure games, and that's what this series is. And to see a new one coming that right now is exclusive to the Switch is very, very cool. I do think there's a chance we might see a release of this game on like the Xbox and PlayStation and Steam maybe at the end of the year or sometime next year, but as of right now, it is a Switch exclusive, and to me it looks fantastic. Now, what's interesting is Ghosts 'n Goblins Resurrection releases on February 25th, like I said, just a few weeks after Mario 3D World, and believe it or not, the very following day, on February 26th, is a huge third-party title that I know a lot of fans are looking forward to, Bravely Default 2. Now, I'm a little bit mixed on Bravely Default 2. I played a good couple of hours of the original game on the 3DS. I was very excited for it, and I liked what I played, but I got a little distracted. It is the kind of hardcore JRPG that I sometimes struggle with, and so I really didn't get too much beyond, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 hours into that game or so. I really didn't make it all that far. I definitely didn't dislike it, but I also wasn't grabbed by it, and I never finished it. And they came out with another game called Bravely Default 2nd on the 3DS. I never went back and played that. This apparently is the producer behind Octopath Traveler, which to me was an amazing game. That is the perfect RPG experience for me. I am an RPG simpleton. I don't really like super deep RPGs. There are exceptions. And a nice simple RPG like Octopath Traveler, oh my god, so fantastic. And now they're bringing a true sequel to Bravely Default to the Switch in February. Bravely Default 2 to me is the kind of game that I expect to make a pretty large splash, honestly, because there is a very strong RPG community and RPG fan base who play on the Nintendo Switch, and if I'm being honest, there's been a pretty strong library of RPGs and JRPGs on the Switch in just a couple of years since it's been on the market. You know, not the least of which is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and then Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Octopath Traveler, like I already mentioned. We also know that 2 Shin Megami Tensei games are actually coming later this year in 2021 as well. Plenty of Final Fantasy games. So Bravely Default 2 really fits, I think, the overall MO of the Switch and a large part of the Switch audience. Like I said, it's not for me. I tried the demo. It really didn't click with me. I like a lot of the visual art style when you're just out in the world and you're traversing the maps and whatnot, but I didn't really love the combat, and I didn't love the visual design of the characters, like in the cutscenes and stuff. It's just, I don't know what it is. It just really kind of actively turned me off. It just didn't click with me. But I've got nothing against it. I think it's going to be a great game for fans, and it's a big title releasing in February. Now, the last main title I want to focus on is also the one that is easily the most exciting for me. This is a slam dunk for myself. Right up my alley. I am so over the moon, and it's perfect because we just finished watching a digital presentation specifically on this game just a little bit ago this morning, and of course that is Monster Hunter Rise, which is launching on March 26th. Now, I think outside of Mario 3D World, I do expect this to be the biggest selling and the most popular of all these main high-profile Q1 titles coming to the Switch. Mario 3D World is a default given because it's a Mario game, it's known to be a great game, and it's also a great game that a lot of people didn't play simply because it was on the Wii U, and most of these Wii U ports sell very well. That game is just going to do gangbuster numbers. But I also expect Monster Hunter to do the same thing. It is a huge franchise. It has become bigger and bigger over the years. Their last title, Monster Hunter World, has now become Capcom's biggest and best-selling single video game of all time. And I can attest to how amazing that game is because I am a very, very big Monster Hunter fan. World was an amazing game that I still play to this day. I have hundreds of hours banked in that game, and I think Rise is going to be an amazing follow-up, and there's even a chance maybe it turns out to be a better game. I think it's great that the game is going to be on the Switch too, because Monster Hunter on the Switch just seems like a match made in heaven, because Nintendo and Monster Hunter have had a very solid relationship the past, I want to say decade, maybe 11 or 12 years or so, since Monster Hunter Tri on the Nintendo Wii. Now, what's going on with Monster Hunter Rise is cool because they're also changing up a lot of the formula. Just like they did with World, they're now evolving some of that further. The main thing we knew about before the digital presentation today was the addition of what they're calling a wire bug, which is this cool little insect thing that you can release into the world, and you can then grapple onto it to kind of climb vertically throughout the world and do all sorts of cool things. And today what they revealed is that you can also now ride wyverns, of course, flying dragon monsters that are very, very steeped in the Monster Hunter lore. This is a big part of these games is, Raytheons and different dragon creatures like that, Rathalos, that are basically just dragons. And apparently you can now, I guess, even use your wire bug to ride wyverns. It's a whole new mechanic. It is brand new, introduced in Monster Hunter Rise, and you basically just cover the thing in the little wire thing, and all of a sudden you're controlling it and you're riding it, and you're going to be able to do a bunch of cool things, being able to suddenly ride wyverns. Like, this is a huge addition, I think, between the verticality, if I can say that word right, that the wire bug introduces, as well as now introducing the wyvern riding. This is going to be very, very cool. I'm expecting also big open world maps, which was something new to Monster Hunter World that the old games did not do. You would basically go into a map and it would just be a series of small rooms that you would have to walk between and go through a short loading screen between. And they were really fun, great games, but I think it was a huge improvement to get the big open world maps in World. It seems to be following through in Monster Hunter Rise. I'm very excited for these new mechanics. I think visually it looks amazing. I can't wait to see what they're doing with this game. I love that it is going to be on the Switch. Like I said, going to be a huge seller. A lot of attention will be focused on this game, and it comes out right at the end of Q1, again on March 26th. Of course, lest I forget to mention the fact that there's also going to be a demo available for almost a full month for this game, which does start later today on January 7th. It was not available for download on the Switch's eShop as of the time of recording this video, like right after this digital presentation. But it's going to be available from now, I believe, until February 1st, so like three and a half weeks. And they're going to be able to let you fight some of the new monsters, and you're also going to be able to test out some of the wyvern riding, which is very smart. I'm very glad they're doing that because I do want to get my hands on the wyvern riding and see what that feels like and understand what we can actually do with it, how it's going to change or improve and evolve the overall Monster Hunter gameplay experience. It's very cool. I cannot wait for this game. And so that's kind of a quick little preview and summary of what I see are the 4 biggest or most interesting games releasing on the Switch in Q1 to myself. Like I already said, I know there's going to be a lot of little indie games and weird or very cool looking stuff that's going to be releasing here and there on the Switch. I just see these as the 4 biggest titles, okay? Ghosts and Goblins is definitely a bit of a fan pick for myself because I'm just so excited and I love that franchise. But Mario 3D World, Bravely Default 2, and Monster Hunter Rise are in and of themselves very big, very high profile titles that will make a big impact on the Switch. And so all of this is to say that this is really showing us a potentially great start for a hopefully awesome year from the Switch. I started this conversation based on the fact that 2020 was weird and slow and awkward for Nintendo for reasons that we understand, and so a lot of us have been hoping that some of their biggest surprises that didn't come out last year might have gotten pushed to this year. So we all think and expect 21 to be packed full of great games for the Switch. And while there's still a ton of mystery about the rest of the year, we're still waiting to learn about Breath of the Wild 2 and Bayonetta 3 and No More Heroes 3 and Metroid, other Nintendo franchises like a Mario Kart or an F-Zero or a Kid Icarus, you know, stuff like that, Pikmin 4 maybe. What we're seeing right now in Q1 is actually still pretty strong, all things considered. And if my prediction comes true that we also get a Nintendo Direct, the return of Directs, in Q1, it's going to be that much greater. And so really, this strong start to 2021 with this great Q1 really just gives me a lot of faith in how the rest of the year is going to go. Maybe I get proven wrong, maybe Nintendo drops the ball and suddenly there's not really all that much coming out for the rest of the year, and some of the games that we want to learn about we end up not seeing release. Yeah, that might happen, and it will be very disappointing, of course, and we'll just continue to talk about it throughout the year as the year takes shape and as Nintendo gives us announcements or continues to not give us announcements, of course. But I just really feel like this is going to be a strong year for the Switch, man. I think, you know, I know a lot of us feel that, and I just really want to double down. To me, I wanted to highlight this strong Q1 to help show you guys what I see and maybe share in what I'm feeling. The fact that I have this faith that the year is going to continue to get stronger and stronger coming off of this pretty good Q1 start. So this is how I see things. These are the 4 games that I'm paying attention to this year. What do you guys think about my breakdown? What do you think about Nintendo's Q1 overall? Do you think it's showing us a strong sign for a better 2021? Or do you think it's too early to tell and maybe this year is going to be another slow year like 2021 was? Whatever you feel about it, talk about it below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.